They're so big and they're right there. I just can't help it. Every time I see Marlynn, my eyes are drawn immediately to her giant, massive harpoons. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando.
Wow, that's a nice set you got there.
What do you mean, these? Is that a harpoon in your pocket? Or are you just happy to see me?
Oh, that's a harpoon.
Well, what's that then?
Well, that's a banana.
Well, then what's that?
Oh, that's my giant...
Hey there, my Flesh and Blood friends. Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in here on your Flesh and Blood Monday, the morning after, if you will, because we just had the huge world premiere this weekend. We finally have the full set, know all the stuff. We can start our official theory crafting, not that many folks haven't already. But I wanted to talk today Marlynn and her giant harpoons, because this is actually something I'm very excited about the set. Now, I know that a lot of, I've heard all over the place, Marlynn BDIF, right? Best deck in format. I know there's a lot of other things going on, but what I think is super cool about this set is the giant harpoon thing, right? And specifically, I'm talking, of course, Marlynn, but more specifically, we're talking the hammerhead harpoon cannon. Just, we're going hunting, we're getting some big game, we're going fishing, as it may be. And we're going to have a lot of fun with this. I don't know that it's going to be the best way to play her. It's going to be a pretty cool way to play her. So let's just go and start at the beginning. So Marlynn, Treasure Hunter, of course, at this point, we know she can tap to destroy a gold and create a gold fin harpoon. So she can create a harpoon on demand. Okay. Now, what's cool is that when you draw a card during your action phase, you get reload. Better than reload, but you get the point, right? You get to stick an arrow in your arsenal, okay? And it does have to be an arrow in this case, but you would have created your harpoon, so there you go. You got that going for you. Now, the gold fin harpoon itself, but you do see a lot of other... I'm actually really excited about Big Game Trophy Shot. I think this is really cool. So this is a 2-drop, which if you think about well, let's read it first. And so your next arrow attack this turn gets +4, and if it has harpoon in its name, it gets when it hits a hero, create a gold token, draw a card, discard a card, go again. This card's like pretty good. So 2 for 4 is below rate. But if you think about what it's doing in terms of the drawing a card, now, you can't compare it to like draw swords or something like that, because that's just straight up draw a card off of a blue. But this doing that plus the pump, this is pretty good when you consider you also get an effective reload with air quotes off of it. That's very interesting to me. So you can do that with the Goldfin Harpoon. If you wouldn't really need to, but you do have that on board. But where things really get interesting here with her giant, massive harpoons is the Hammerhead Harpoon Cannon, because most of them say if you've activated a cannon, right? Well, this is a Pirate Ranger weapon bow cannon, 2-handed. It shouldn't be two. It should be like has to be mounted on the deck because it's just too huge for you to handle. Action for 4. Tap it. Your next arrow attack this turn gets +4, and if it has harpoon, gets overpower. And of course, go again because it wouldn't work elsewise. Not an instant, is an action. What's interesting about this, as the other bows we've seen, this does not load your arrow. It does not put an arrow in, right? Every other bow does something, well, it puts an arrow in and something else. This does not do that. This just buffs your attack. So that makes things very interesting, obviously, with Marlynn, who I don't think first off, is a pirate weapon, so irrelevant anyway, but I don't think, even if it wasn't, I don't think anybody else would even try and do this. But when you really start thinking about this, this is a lot of blues to make this work, but you're sending some pretty big stuff. What I also find very interesting about this is the way it works with Codex of Frailty. So, you don't, right? Codex of Frailty is always, it's a really good card. Let's be clear about that. But sometimes it can get weird because if you have a card you want to have no cards in your hand when you play it. That's my point here, right? And sometimes that can get kind of funky. Furthermore, you could do the 2 blues into Codex of Frailty with your 2 floating and then load. So I think that's actually pretty, and by load, I mean actually do Codex of Frailty to get your Harpoon in the arsenal, right? And then phenomenal. It works really well with that, where it works a little better than some of the other bows to that regard, because you're using Codex of Frailty to load as opposed to having to worry about go again to take advantage of it. You get my point. So I think that's very interesting, because you can use Codex of Frailty basically as your primary attack as opposed to like a secondary attack. I think that's very interesting with the Harpoon, because you can pay into it. And then, yeah, I find that very interesting. Now let's go to the Harpoons themselves. So there's two big uns, right? I was wondering if we would see more, but as of right now, we've seen, to my knowledge, I should say, I always miss things, it could happen. We've seen King Kraken and King Shark. So both these have Go Fish, which inherently means that when you do a thing, you get to look at their hand, and if you've done a cannon, you get to choose. But so these are both 2 for 6 with 3 block, like you would expect for Arrow. But when this hits a hero, they choose and reveal a card from the hand. If it's a non-attack action, they discard it and you create a gold token if you've activated a cannon. And then King Shark is if it's an attack action, right? So they basically are the opposites of each other. That's why I kind of read them at the same time together, but you get it. It's pretty neat, though, that you get to go in there and shark out, as the case may be, or Kraken out, as the case may be. You're going fishing. You are going fishing. Now, what really rounded this out, because let's go back to the Harpoon, well, that's an expensive little thing. This is going to be inherently a very blue-heavy deck, or rely on bunches of card draws, but you're still going to need a lot of blues. And when we saw the colored fin series come out as up here, red fin, yellow fin, and blue fin, that really helped round it out. So from a certain point of view, these cards are surgical extraction. Now, they all have go fish. You might be gold fishing with them, but they have go fish. When they hit a hero, choose and reveal a card from their hand. If it's the color specified on that card, red, yellow, or blue, discard it and create a gold. And if you've activated a cannon, you get to choose. So these then in of themselves are okay, but they're blues, which you need because you're going to have a pretty heavy concentration of blues. Because in most cases, I mean, just do the rough math. What are we doing? We're loading. We're getting the bow bonus, or we're getting the Harpoon bonus for loading with the overpower, and then you're coming in for a 2 for 6. And actually on a 3-card hand, that's actually not horrible, right? Not horrible. But again, remember, we're not loading off of this. So what I find interesting about this is kind of going back to some of the lesser played Ranger cards over the grand history of the game. A card like Take Cover. Take Cover is a D-React, which has reload on it. Now, keep in mind, I do want to point out, because some folks aren't super clear on this, reload itself says no cards in your arsenal. So it doesn't matter if you're playing New Horizons or not, meaning like if New Horizons, right, can sometimes give you the second arsenal slot, it doesn't matter. Reload, you have to have 0, you have to have Goose Egg in your arsenal for reload to work, regardless of New Horizons. That has not been changed yet, not been edited yet, so that is the way that works as of now. Another card I find very interesting just within the, let's say the 2/6 Harpoon line, is Overflex. Now, Overflex isn't activating a cannon, but this is a card that traditionally hasn't seen a lot of play, just because you'd rather do kind of a 0, or try to, because you want to have a 0 to maybe do a 0 arrow, and then you don't have to pay for anything, and in that case, if I can like take aim or some other reload. But Overflex, when you have a bunch of blues in your deck and a bunch of 2/6s, is actually a pretty good 3-card hand just in of itself, right? You could have this, a blue, and the 2/6. Well, that's 10 with an on-hit. May not be the most effective on-hit, but it still works. And then if we're talking blues, I'm actually very interested in just going and playing Take Aim. Take Aim in of itself is Ranger attack action +1, reload, can work in a pinch. It's not super optimal, but it is a blue for you. I do think that is something worth exploring within this particular archetype. Now, we've also seen some pretty freaking amazing other cards. Return Fire is very, very, very interesting. I mean, what a interesting card, right? There's definitely pluses and minuses to this in like how it works, again, to the point with New Horizons and having cards in your arsenal already. But to be able to basically get a effective reload in a way with a nimbleism on the front seems pretty good. Barbed Barrage, when I first saw this, first off, completely necessary in this set with like the ally stuff. So this one makes complete sense. But when I first saw this, I was like, well, why does it have to be 3? And then I realized, oh, they want you to spend an entire other card to be able to do it. So now I get it. I get it, right? I would have liked it to be less, like, right, from a Ranger standpoint, would have loved it to be less, but realistically, I understand what they're trying to do is make you spend a whole card for a whole attack. So I track that. Fire in the Hole, I don't think really applies here, but you also have Monkey Powder as well, which has some very serious potential as well on top of this. This whole thing is, this whole line's pretty cool. I want to be very, very, very clear. I'm well aware that, like, there's 3 of a kind plays, and when she draws, she can reload, so 3 of a kind seems pretty good. Completely on that. You probably play that as well, because guess what? 3 of a kind, right? Oh, off of a blue, right? It all works. There's a lot of really cool things going here. Disclaimer, I'm not claiming it's going to be the best one, but I think the fact that, like, you're just going to, like, send lobbing bombs that have not, like, crush effects, but, like, on-hit disruption effects with overpower, that's pretty freaking cool. And I'm really looking forward to getting some tries with this and see how it plays out. Because I don't think overall it's going to be a super expensive build. I mean, obviously the armor and stuff, right? But for those, you know, I've got a fair amount of Ranger cards because I was very into Azalea back in the day, played Lexi for a while. I've got most of the Ranger stuff. It should be relatively cheap to approach and try. So interested to get this on the table and see if trying to shoot one big shot every turn or two with disruption works or not. But I don't know. That's my piece. Kind of excited to try it. Let me know what you're excited about. Let me know in the comments below. Hopefully you've been doing that already. By the way, don't forget to channel my DM Ramada. Make the number go to another number. Do that whole thing. Have fun with it this week, folks. And go Commando.